Liverpool are about to hijack a major transfer. Is a defensive shake-up coming at Anfield? And what's really happening with Darwin Nunez and Arne Slot? Stay tuned, because this changes everything. Liverpool preparing to hijack Tottenham transfer move as succession plans made. Liverpool is set to enter the market to sign a new centre-back during this summer's transfer window, and the Reds are being linked with a move for a Bournemouth star. Liverpool could hijack Tottenham's move for Bournemouth defender Marcos Senesi if Ibrahima Konate departs on a free transfer this summer, according to reports. Senesi is set to become one of the most in-demand free agents on the market this summer when his contract at Bournemouth expires at the end of June. The 28-year-old Argentinian is having an excellent season for Bournemouth, prompting interest from bigger clubs. Tottenham is leading the race to sign Senesi, although Spurs' prospect of signing Senesi will obviously vanish if the club suffers relegation to the Championship. TalkSport says that Senesi has already verbally agreed to move to Tottenham, but that Liverpool is also considering moving for the Cherries star. It is suggested that Liverpool's move for Senesi could hinge on whether French international Konate signs a new contract at Liverpool. Liverpool sporting director Richard Hughes was the technical director at Bournemouth when the South Coast club signed Senesi in 2022. Liverpool is in the midst of a defensive overhaul, with Konate out of contract at the end of the season, and it is still unclear whether the Frenchman will agree to an extension at Anfield. Jarell Quansah was also sold last summer, while Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk are both approaching the final 12 months of their deals. After last month's Merseyside derby, Konate hinted that he was close to renewing his contract at Liverpool. Konate said, "There is a big chance I'm here next season. This is what I always wanted. I'm waiting to sort the contract, but when everything is sorted, you will have to ask Richard what I said to him in September, November, and he's going to say something to make everyone quiet." The Guardian then reported over the following couple of days that Konate had informed Liverpool last year that he wanted to stay at the club, but there has not been much to suggest that there have been any further developments in talks since then. Liverpool signed Giovanni Leone and Jeremy Jacquet during the last two transfer windows, with the club taking steps to prepare the squad for the long term in that area of the field. Leone has been missing since September after sustaining a serious knee injury during his Liverpool debut, while Jacquet's season was also ended early by a shoulder injury. Darwin Nunez agreement as transfer lined up just months after Liverpool exit. Darwin Nunez looks set to be on the move again soon, with the former Liverpool striker having endured a miserable spell in Saudi Arabia after being dropped by Al Hilal. Darwin Nunez looks set to end his misery in Saudi Arabia, with the former Liverpool striker said to have reached an agreement for another transfer this summer. The Uruguay international left Anfield last summer after 3 years with the Reds, as he became the latest name to make the move to the Saudi Pro League, following in the footsteps of former teammates Jordan Henderson and Fabinho. Despite a promising start in the Middle East, Nunez soon found himself out of favour at Al Hilal, and he was dropped from the club's league squad earlier this year following the signing of Karim Benzema. Nunez had been lined up for an exit in the January transfer exit, only for Al Hilal to be unable to find a buyer. With the end of the season quickly approaching now, though, the 26-year-old looks as though he will soon be on the move again. According to El Observador in Nunez's native Uruguay, an agreement has been reached for the former Red to leave Al Hilal before the start of next season. It's claimed that he has been in talks over his departure in the summer, with those discussions set to advance once the season is over. Nunez is said to still be training with his current club, despite not having played for them since February 16. His domestic season is effectively already over, with Al Hilal having been knocked out of the AFC Champions League elite by Qatari side Al Sadd last month. He looks set to travel to the World Cup with his country this summer, which could complicate any transfer. Despite his lack of game time domestically, Nunez did feature for Uruguay in the March international break, having played against England and Algeria. Nunez is claimed to have already received offers ahead of the summer, with a return to the Premier League touted as one of his options. El Observador claims that Chelsea is one of the clubs interested in his signature, with a move to Italy also being suggested as Juventus has joined the race, with Napoli having been linked with his services last summer. Speaking to AUF TV back in March, Nunez admitted he missed Liverpool's fans, having credited them with helping through difficult times while he was at Anfield. "I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss them, the people of Liverpool," Nunez said. "The truth is, they made me feel very welcome, and my family too. During some difficult times I went through personally, the people always gave me that affection, that support, and that was very important to me. And obviously I miss Liverpool. Liverpool news as John Henry speaks out on mediocrity and Arne Slot latest. Liverpool manager Arne Slot is reportedly set to remain at Anfield despite rising pressure, as Fenway Sports Group boss John Henry voices his refusal to accept mediocrity. The aftermath of Liverpool's loss to Manchester United on Sunday persists. The Reds' 3-2 defeat represented their 11th league loss this campaign and their 18th across all competitions. It marked another significant setback for the reigning Premier League champions in a season riddled with them. Since the final whistle at Old Trafford, speculation surrounding Arne Slot's future has intensified, despite the Reds remaining in contention for a top-5 finish this season. In an uncommon interview, John Henry, the head of Fenway Sports Group, FSG, the American sports organisation that owns Liverpool, has discussed his aspirations. His revealing comments come as a decision on Slot's future appears to have been made. Henry breaks silence. Liverpool's principal owner has stated that FSG will not settle for mediocrity amid the club's present difficulties. FSG acquired Liverpool in 2010 when the club was in crisis and has since transformed it into a two-time Premier League winning side. FSG also oversees Major League Baseball's Boston Red Sox. They sparked controversy last week by dismissing Red Sox manager Alex Cora and members of the backroom staff earlier in the season. Speaking to Sports Business Journal, Henry, 76, broke his silence for the first time on the sackings, which have offered Liverpool supporters a glimpse into FSG's internal decision-making as calls for Slot's dismissal grow among certain sections of the fan base. Fans get frustrated, said Henry. The Sox looked terrible for their first 25 games. I remember a plane flying overhead when we Liverpool were beating Manchester United 7-0 in 2023 that read FSG out. It doesn't mean you ignore them. It means you work harder. You don't settle for mediocrity. You have to win. Slot's future becomes clear. Despite Henry's remarks and his group's recent interventions at the Red Sox that could hint at an imminent change on Merseyside, Slot looks set to remain at Liverpool despite mounting pressure and reported interest from Ajax. According to Dutch media sources, the Eredivisie outfit was keen on luring Slot to the club as it searches for a permanent successor to Fred Grimm, who left in February. However, Slot remains contracted at Anfield until 2027. Earlier reports indicated that Liverpool's hierarchy is firmly behind the 47-year-old and intends to give him the time needed to turn the club's fortunes around. If Slot loses his job, one man who could replace him is Xabi Alonso. The Spaniard has been touted for the Liverpool role ever since Jurgen Klopp announced his departure in January 2024. Last summer, Alonso departed Bayer Leverkusen to replace Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid, but he was relieved of his duties by Los Blancos earlier this year. Will Wright eyeing up Premier League debut as Alexander Isak injury paves way. After several months on the sidelines with a knee injury, Will Wright is knocking on the door of the Liverpool first team, and the young striker could make his senior debut against Chelsea. Amid the fanfare surrounding Liverpool's record-shattering transfer spending last summer, one signing largely escaped the spotlight. Will Wright will now be afforded the chance to emerge from obscurity and show why the Reds made an unexpected move for him back in August. Having been named among the substitutes for the previous two games, he will have this week to train alongside the first team once more and make his case for, at minimum, a brief appearance when Chelsea visit in the Premier League on Saturday. Indeed, with Mohamed Salah and Hugo Ekitike unavailable and uncertainty surrounding Alexander Isak's fitness, there exists the slim possibility Wright, 18, could be handed a senior full debut for Liverpool. A substitute appearance, though, appears most probable for a forward who has been catching the eye with the U21s in recent weeks to propel himself into Arne Slot's considerations. Not that it would mark Wright's maiden experience of action at Anfield. On the day his transfer from Salford City was confirmed last August, he came on for Florian Wirtz 16 minutes from time in the second of two friendlies against Athletic Bilbao and nearly found the net at the Kop end with virtually his first touch. Wright had been a prolific goalscorer at the youth level with Salford and broke into the first team as a 16-year-old last season, making his debut in the EFL Trophy against Wolves U21s. He also featured briefly in the FA Cup third-round loss to Manchester City last January before making two appearances in League Two. The teenager chose to join Liverpool over Arsenal for soccer reasons and because it allowed him to remain in the northwest rather than relocating to London. This season, Wright's journey has been similar to that of numerous strikers at both senior and academy level at Liverpool. Sidelined for several months with a serious knee injury sustained during the UEFA Youth League opener against Atletico Madrid in September. However, since returning to fitness, the teenager has found his form in recent weeks and delivered 2 superb finishes for the Young's 21s in the team's recent 3-3 Premier League 2 playoff draw against Crystal Palace, though he was later among those who missed from the spot in the penalty shootout defeat. Wright has netted 6 goals and provided 5 assists in his last 11 appearances for the Young's 21s. With his imposing physique, blistering speed, tenacious pressing and an innate eye for goal, the youngster is far more reminiscent of a traditional frontman in the vein of Ian Rush, rather than the multifaceted, deep-lying playmaker that was Roberto Firmino. A first-team debut may not materialise this weekend, yet it's clear that Wright is beginning to make his presence felt at Liverpool. The coming week at the AXA Training Centre will afford him yet another opportunity to build upon his promising development. Jurgen Klopp convinced superstar to reject Man United transfer after Icon's phone call. Robert Lewandowski is among the targets for Manchester United this summer, with the Red Devils linked with the striker, and it is not the first time the club has tried to sign the veteran forward. Jurgen Klopp prevented Robert Lewandowski from joining Manchester United 14 years before the club was linked with another remarkable move for the forward ahead of this summer. Benjamin Sesko is currently the only experienced natural striker in the United squad, leaving Michael Carrick short of options up front. That, combined with Rasmus Højlund's anticipated permanent exit, means the Red Devils likely need to bring in another top-quality number 9 at the end of the Premier League season. Amid an underwhelming and overpriced striker market, one intriguing option is Barcelona frontman Lewandowski. The 37-year-old striker's contract is set to expire in the coming months, potentially allowing him to be signed on a free transfer, significantly enhancing United's chances of progressing next season. Any potential move comes over a decade after both the player and United reached an agreement to bring him to Old Trafford. Lewandowski himself has previously discussed how, during his spell at Borussia Dortmund in 2012, he was taken off in a pre-season friendly against VfL Bochum. While his teammates were still out on the pitch for the second half, the then-emerging talent received a phone call from Sir Alex Ferguson himself. The iconic manager, speaking with his pronounced Scottish accent, persuaded Lewandowski that a transfer to Manchester that summer was the right choice. Despite struggling to hear Sir Alex's words, Lewandowski was prepared to join the Premier League team. Nevertheless, the transfer collapsed as Dortmund, under Klopp's stewardship, refused to sanction Lewandowski's departure, deeming him too vital. They had already seen Shinji Kagawa depart for United that same summer. Lewandowski recounted in an interview with Sport Bild, "I remember the moment exactly. We had a friendly with Dortmund in preparation, I think against Bochum. I was subbed at half-time. I looked at my mobile phone in the dressing room. There was a text message with the sender +44. Ferguson had tried to call me and then sent me a message. He wanted to talk to me." The forward continued, "I was still in the dressing room. I took a shower and called him back, in a quiet corner. My English wasn't as good as it is today." He has a strong Scottish accent. "I was so focused on understanding what he meant. Alex Ferguson tried to be considerate, spoke slowly. I was 22 years old. It was a special moment. I spoke to Aki Vatska and Jurgen Klopp in the camp. I wanted to go to Man United, but they said, 'No chance, Robert. We need you. You have to stay.'" Remaining at Dortmund proved the correct choice for both Lewandowski and the club, as he netted 64 goals over the following 2 campaigns, while also featuring in a Champions League final. The Poland captain made 187 appearances under Klopp's management, recording an outstanding 103 goals. In 2014, he transferred to rivals Bayern Munich, where he cemented his reputation as arguably the world's finest striker, unlucky not to claim a Ballon d'Or in 2020 owing to the pandemic. His switch to Barcelona came in 2022, where he has helped secure 2 La Liga titles across 3 seasons thus far. Following the club's unsuccessful pursuit of Lewandowski, United returned to the transfer market in 2012 for a proven goalscorer, securing Arsenal's Robin van Persie. The Dutch forward delivered Ferguson a final Premier League trophy in a distinguished career, having found the net 26 times in the league during his first season at Old Trafford. Alisson agrees personal terms with Juventus as Liverpool transfer headache grows. Alisson continues to be linked with a transfer from Liverpool to Juventus, and it is reported that the Brazilian has agreed personal terms with the Turin club ahead of a summer move. Alisson has reportedly agreed personal terms with Juventus ahead of possibly joining the Turin club from Liverpool this summer. Speculation linking the Brazilian with a move to Serie A has intensified in recent weeks, and Italian journalist Nicolo Schira says that he has now agreed a contract worth €5 million, $5.9 million per year. Although personal terms have apparently been agreed, Juve still faces the task of convincing Liverpool to let Alisson leave. The Brazilian is not agitating for a move away from Merseyside and will ultimately allow Liverpool to have the final say on whether he can leave. Alisson remains Liverpool's first-choice goalkeeper, but his availability, or lack thereof, has become an issue over the last couple of seasons, and he is currently sidelined with a hamstring injury once again. Freddie Woodman has started Liverpool's last 2 games, following an injury to second-choice stopper Georgi Mamardashvili. Fitness issues have hampered Alisson over the last couple of seasons, and he is currently in the midst of another layoff, having not played since a Champions League win over Galatasaray in mid-March. In a press conference last week ahead of Liverpool's trip to Manchester United, Arne Slot confirmed that Alisson is closing in on a return, but that he would not be rushed. Ali hasn't trained with us yet, very close to train with us. I have to hear today from the medical staff to see if he is ready to train today, either tomorrow or the start of next week, Slot said. He is very close, but also we don't want to take any risks. That is not what you do with a player, and that is not what we do now. I think there is a difference between a goalkeeper and an outfield player, because if a player hasn't trained in a few weeks, outfield players need to run more than goalkeepers do. So I don't think the issue with an outfield player when he is out for 4 or 5 weeks that he forgot to play football. It's usually that the fitness levels are not at this intensity to play at the level the Premier League is asking. There is a difference between a goalkeeper and an outfield player. For us, it is a bonus every player that comes back because it is getting longer and longer. It has been like that throughout the whole season. Last month, Slot refused to rule out the possibility of Alisson leaving Liverpool. I think the club is run in a certain way, and we make decisions that the club thinks are in the best interest of the club, he said. And it could mean this is the reason why. It could mean another good argument why we acted how we acted. I think the history of all the transfers shows that nothing was done without a purpose or without thinking about it. Look, the people who make these decisions take everything into account. They try to make the best decisions with the interest of the club. Experience is definitely one argument to keep him, but there are other arguments. That is a decision the club has to make if that is needed. In the end, he still has 1 year. Liverpool see major boost without playing a match as club's Champions League hopes end. Liverpool remain in a strong position to secure Champions League football for 2026-27 and saw a major boost to their endeavours earlier this week. Liverpool received a major boost in their quest for Champions League qualification on Monday after Chelsea were mathematically eliminated from finishing in the top 5. Chelsea's 3-1 defeat to Nottingham Forest ended the Blues' hopes of securing a place in Europe's elite club competition as the turmoil at Stamford Bridge continues to intensify. In a match that saw players from both sides sustain head injuries, a double from Taiwo Awoniyi and a strike from Igor Jesus put Forest 3-0 ahead before João Pedro pulled one back with a superb bicycle kick in added time. The outcome leaves Chelsea 10 points adrift of the top 5, following a dismal run of 6 consecutive Premier League losses. With only 3 fixtures left this season, the highest position Chelsea can achieve is 6th. Given the team's abysmal recent form, even a 6th-place finish appears highly unlikely at present, especially considering the consistent performances of the 3 sides directly above Chelsea in the standings. Those 3 clubs, Bournemouth, Brentford and Brighton, are the only remaining teams capable of catching any of the sides currently occupying the top 5 positions. Arsenal and Manchester City confirmed their qualification several weeks ago, while Manchester United joined them following its victory against Liverpool on Sunday. Liverpool and Aston Villa occupy 4th and 5th positions, respectively, on 58 points, meaning both clubs remain theoretically within reach of Bournemouth, Brentford and Brighton. It appears extremely improbable, however, that either Liverpool or Villa will drop out of the top 5, given the distance between them and their pursuers. Bournemouth are on 52 points, Brentford are on 51, and Brighton are on 50. Victories for Liverpool and Villa this weekend would place both sides beyond the reach of Brentford and Brighton, while Bournemouth would need to win to maintain any faint hope. Liverpool welcome Chelsea on Saturday before travelling to Villa Park in the second-to-last fixture of the season. A home encounter against Brentford then concludes the campaign. Arne Slot's side can secure their place in the Champions League next term by claiming 4 points from those remaining 3 matches, regardless of results elsewhere. Arne Slot needs a Liverpool performance against Chelsea, so Rio and Gamoja move is a must. Arne Slot needs Liverpool to put on a show against Chelsea on Saturday, so the Reds boss has to unleash Rio and Gamoja. Just under 10 years ago, Liverpool entertained Chelsea in their last Premier League home game of the season, thanks to a Christian Benteke goal in added time, aided by an error from goalkeeper Asmir Begovic. Jurgen Klopp's team salvaged a point. They would then go on to play out another 1-1 draw at West Brom in their final Premier League match, finishing the season in 8th place with 60 points and a goal difference of 10. Arne Slot's Liverpool currently has a goal difference of 12 and 58 points. This weekend, they welcome Chelsea for their penultimate game of the season at Anfield. With a 6-point gap to 6th-placed Bournemouth, a top 5 finish for Liverpool is still a long odds-on shot. But the match against Chelsea, currently among the worst teams in the competition, has taken on huge significance for Slot. He needs a performance. He needs a result. Since that 60-point season 10 years ago, Liverpool's worst Premier League campaign, points-wise, was in 2022-23, when Klopp's side finished 5th with 67 and a goal difference of 28. They scored 75 Premier League goals that season. This Liverpool team has 59 this season. If Slot's team wins its last 3 Premier League matches, it will finish with 67 points. In theory, Slot could not wish for more hapless opponents on Saturday, Chelsea having lost their last 6 Premier League games. But that almost increases the pressure. Right now, you get the feeling that most Liverpool fans are resigned to having Slot in charge for the first game of next season. They accept the situation, but are not necessarily happy with it. And an air of resignation is almost worse than an air of discontent. Slot does not just need a victory, he needs something to lift the crowd. And that is why it seems inconceivable that he will not start Rio and Gamoja. Give the youngster a bit of confidence by guaranteeing him a start in the last 3 matches, no matter what mistakes he might make in a game. The lad is the future. He represents hope for a vibrant future, and Slot needs to give the supporters some hope of a vibrant future. I have always been of the opinion that winning the Premier League in his first season at Anfield should immediately give him enough credit to be allowed a drop-off and enough credit for him to start the 3rd year of his contract. But Slot cannot afford to end the Premier League season with a whimper. In 2015-16, Klopp only took over when Liverpool were in 10th place after 8 games, and the disappointment of an eventual 8th place finish was tempered by runs to the EFL Cup final and the Europa League final, even though they lost in both. In fact, Klopp found himself in the opposite situation to Slot. He seemed to have unequivocal support and was given a new 6-year contract. Slot's contract expires at the end of next season, and you would expect negotiations over a new one to take place in the summer. But if that seems unlikely now, it will seem unthinkable if his team lose to Chelsea at Anfield. The season is winding down, but the pressure is still very much on Arne Slot. Curtis Jones could hand Liverpool potential transfer issue they cannot ignore. Liverpool will see a number of experienced players depart in the summer, but they can ill afford to leave themselves short in one key area. Mohamed Salah speaks so infrequently to the media at length, well, the written press at any rate, that his utterances tend to carry more weight than most. Witness the reaction following his latest round of television interviews ahead of Liverpool's trip to Manchester United at the weekend. While the departing Egyptian was ruled out of the Old Trafford clash due to a minor hamstring problem, his conversations dominated the headlines, with one revelation in particular prompting eyebrows to be raised. I spoke to a member of staff and the guys up there. I told them, when I leave, you need an example. You need people to come early and go to the gym, said Salah. If this doesn't happen, it will be tricky for the club because it's very necessary you put the standard high. I want that standard in the club. It's very important for the team to keep winning things, and this is one of the main concerns for me. Clearly, Salah feels strongly about having someone to whom he can hand over the baton, regards wanting to go above and beyond the usual training regime at Anfield, believing it to be a key factor in his success and, as a consequence, that of Liverpool during his 9 years at the club. With Andy Robertson also leaving this summer and doubts over the long-term future of Alisson Becker, a huge chunk of experience and leadership will depart. Although by no means impossible, replacing that won't be easy. And there could be another shortcoming in the squad that history suggests will need to be addressed if Liverpool want to seriously challenge for honours in the immediate future. Curtis Jones is approaching the final 12 months of his contract, and with Trent Alexander-Arnold having departed last summer, is now the only Liverpool-born senior player in the first-team squad. There has thus far been no sign of an agreement over a new deal, and rumours persist over a potential move away, with a number of Premier League clubs linked, despite Jones having played more minutes this season than ever before with the Reds. Given so many established and successful names are nearing the end of their Liverpool careers, the prospect of also losing a scout heartbeat in the squad has prompted ripples of alarm through a fan base concerned about an identity of a team that is inevitably shifting due to the passage of time. But does having a homegrown talent in the lineup really make that much of a difference? The evidence suggests very much in the affirmative. The Reds have won 32 major finals, 6 European Cups, 3 UEFA Cups, 4 UEFA Super Cups, 1 FIFA Club World Cup, 8 FA Cups and 10 League Cups. And on each occasion have had at least one Liverpool-born player in the matchday squad. The only time one has not featured was the 1986 FA Cup final win over Everton, when Steve McMahon remained on the bench throughout, while in 2024, Jayden Danns, then only 18 years old, came on as substitute in the memorable League Cup final triumph against Chelsea. And all 20 League Championship victories have seen one or more players of Liverpool upbringing play more than just a peripheral role in helping lift the silverware. Whether it has been Ian Callaghan, Tommy Smith, Steve McManaman, Robbie Fowler, Jamie Carragher, Steven Gerrard, all the way through to Alexander-Arnold and Jones, those from the city and associated areas, now isn't the time for a whole debate on whether Bootle or Heighton count as Liverpool, have always played a part. Food for thought then for the Reds recruitment team as they formulate their plans for the next campaign and beyond. Florian Wirtz will come good for Liverpool, and Reds cannot afford to let 2 players go. In the second part of his weekly column, John Aldridge looks ahead to next season after a campaign to forget. The form of Florian Wirtz is in some ways representative of Liverpool's season as a whole. There's no doubt about his ability. He should be used to the Premier League now and how physical it is and how strong it can be. I think he's a fantastic player, but this season has been really good one week and not so good the next. There's no real consistency. Everyone's seen what he's got, and it's up to the manager to get the best out of him. But Wirtz has also got to get the best out of himself. He's got to realise that next season, he's got to come back physically stronger to meet what the league gives you. If he does that and learns to defend better, he'll be just fine. Defending isn't a natural part of his armoury, but you can always learn to do it better and make a nuisance of yourself. He was a bit disappointing in the match against United, but you only have to look at the marks that were dished out in the Echo to see that he wasn't on his own in that respect. If you were to mark all of the players for their performances across the whole season, there would be a lot of 5s and there wouldn't be many 8s. There's a few exceptions: Dominic Szoboszlai, Alisson, Hugo Ekitike for the first half of the season. But then you're thinking, who's been consistent and got us off our seats? Not many. Liverpool can't afford to lose Alisson, Mohamed Salah and Andy Robertson will be leaving the club at the end of the month. And there has been talk about other players who could leave, such as Alisson and Curtis Jones. I don't know where this talk has come from. I feel like someone is trying to throw a spanner in the works. There's no way Liverpool can let Alisson and Jones go this summer. We've had one big transition last year. Alisson can play at Anfield for another 4 or 5 years. Why make the squad situation any more difficult? I can't see the point in letting someone like him go. I know he's had some injury problems this year that have affected his kicking a bit, but it feels like someone outside the club just trying to cause chaos. As for Jones, he's a local lad and a Liverpool fan. Where would he go? I'd be very surprised if left. When you've got 2 players like Salah and Robertson going, who have been so instrumental over the last 10 years, you need characters in the dressing room. We had that in abundance whilst Jurgen Klopp was there. Milner, Henderson, really good lads in the dressing room. That makes you tick. You might say that we just need to go and get the best players out there. I don't know who that will be. Maybe Kostas Tsimikas will come back to replace Robertson. That would save money that can be used elsewhere, and he's good in the dressing room. It's important because we lack characters on the pitch at the moment. Whoever comes in, as well as being a really good player, we need a couple of really good characters as well. Season's end can't come sooner, but Salah comments are a concern. Mohamed Salah suggested in an interview last week that he had raised concerns about maintaining Liverpool's standards after he has left. Obviously, I am not privy to what goes on in the dressing room, but for Salah to speak like that, you've got to sit him down and find out what he's on about. Liverpool have got 3 games left to play, and the season can't end soon enough for me. We need to get a result against Chelsea, who have lost their last 6 straight league games, and get a result at home to Brentford and make sure we get into the Champions League. Then let the owners and the manager do whatever they have to make sure next season is significantly better than this one. That's the latest from Anfield. Drop your thoughts in the comments, like, follow and subscribe, and stay locked to Anfield Signal for more.